The moment I got the Z, I knew I wanted to modify this thing from top to bottom. And I have quite a few mods on this car, ranging between aesthetics and a whole bunch of performance mods. I will go over the mods by categories. And the first category will be aesthetics. The second will be interior aesthetics. The third category will be suspension, and the last category will be performance. The first thing on my list for exterior was the first mod that I did to this car when I first brought Ghost home, and that was tints. Yeah, some people might not call this a mod, but I do. So the tints are currently 15% all around and a 35% tint on the windshield. Initially wanted 50% tint like I had on the Q, but there was a miscommunication of some sort at the time of the install, so I just left it with 35%. The next modification is carbon fiber caps. These are pre-impregnated dry carbon that has been clear coated for protection to the UV rays. These are one of the slickest and thinnest caps out on the market right now, and it honestly looks factory. I will be selling these on my website very soon at ZillaFullBoost.com if there's enough interest in the comment section. The next thing I have is currently a wrap on the side skirts. Eventually, I will be purchasing true carbon fiber skin that will adhere over the side skirts, but for now, I will stay with the wrap. Trust me, I'm not one of those cheesy guys that like to put carbon wrap on their cars, but this wrap does in fact look real, and it doesn't really bother me right now, especially it being so low to the ground. Now, one of the major mods for the exterior that I did, wheels. These wheels were made by Precision Forge. I wanted a Watanabe style with a polished lip, and I knew that Precision Forge was a company to go to for your custom needs. Being that the car is white, I knew that the bronze will hit pretty hard, so I went with a satin bronze to contrast the polished lip, and I believe they came out phenomenal. They're kind of dirty right now, so don't mind the haziness. Wrapped around the wheels is a Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2. These tires are by far the best street tire I have ever owned, and these things can grip. The car feels very responsive, and even in damp situations the car felt really great. I didn't lose any confidence whatsoever. Now, I have yet to drive them in a downpour, but I don't think it would be that much of a challenge compared to a drag radio, especially if I remain going the speed limit. Now, only time will tell because I have no experience in a downpour. I guess one final exterior mod. I'm not sure if you would call this an exterior mod or interior, but it is the Z1 carbon fiber shroud, which I think looks pretty good. Now, for the interior, what stands out is the pre-impregnated dry carbon fiber interior trim that I have. I have the center console around the gear selector back to the cup holder. I also have the window switches as well as the top of the dashboard for the gauges and on top of the instrument cluster. I didn't want the carbon fiber interior to stand out as much. That's why I never went with a glossy finish. What you see here is a matte finish, which I believe works well with the interior of the Z. It changes the look and feel without it being too much. In my opinion, I believe carbon fiber looks good when you have a subtle amount, but that's just me and my taste. The next interior mod that I have is ambient lighting. These aren't the factory ambient lights, so they're a lot cheaper. I got them on Amazon. I could leave a link in the description. Just know it's an affiliate link, so when you do purchase, I get a very small kickback, maybe like 2 cents. But hey, 2 cents helps. It really helps set the mood in here. I took inspiration from Be Distinct video, so thanks to him, I put them on the back. The next mod is cool white LED lights. It's crazy that in 2023, Nissan still doesn't have LED interior, especially for the Z. But either way, it's a very cheap mod that modernizes your Z. Now, going onto the suspension, I am rocking in the rear Voodoo 13 toe arms, and for right now I have very cheap camber arms that I got on Amazon. So I ended up getting these camber arms in a hurry, that way I can make it to the track the very next day, because once I lowered the car, the camber was extremely negative and that doesn't allow for any traction. And because I wanted maximum traction, I ended up getting those very cheap arms delivered the next day from Amazon, and I got it to 0-degree camber. I meant to buy Voodoo 13 camber arms shortly after the track, but honestly, I forgot that was even there. They've been working this far and I haven't had any issues. Now on the front, I don't have any camber arms, so Hopefully these tires will last. The toe is set pretty good, but the camber is possibly around -2, which I need to correct that very soon. Now, I mentioned that the car is lowered. I lowered the car on Silver's suspension coilovers. These coilovers completely changed the way the car felt and was no longer floaty. The car was very responsive turning. There is no more nose diving when applying the brakes. And the car, surprisingly, is very comfortable to drive. So with one knob, you can simultaneously adjust rebound and compression. Now, I will be switching out these single adjustable coilovers for these double adjustable Neo 2-ways from Silver suspension with a softer spring rate to accommodate for my drag racing use. So the car will no longer feel like it's ready to carve any road course or canyon, but you know, that's the direction that I'm going for with this car. The coilovers have been nothing but amazing, and I will highly recommend these for any car, so go ahead and check them out. Now with the brakes, I currently have the factory Sport Akibonos, and for the rears I have downsized my Sport 2-piston Akibonos to a single piston base 370Z brake to accommodate for my 15-inch drag wheel from Black Industries. I have these wheels wrapped in Mickey Thompson's ET Street Hours, and bro, these things grip all the power. Trust me, I have a lot of power in the Z, upwards of 650 wheel horsepower. And you might be asking how I got all this power. Well, let's go over all the performance mods. For the fuel system, I have the Z1 low pressure fuel pump, which is a 525 liter per hour pump that I hardwired with the Dishworks hardwire relay kit. So the pump is running at 100% duty cycle to ensure I get the most out of this fuel pump. For the high pressure fuel pump, I am using the Spool FX 180, which is now called the Spool FX 200. With these two mods, it allows anyone to use full E85 on stock turbos. I have also added the additional fuel support by using Dishworks 1700cc injectors. You can't see them, but they're underneath the manifold there. With these 3 fuel mods, it allows me to use up to E60 with upgraded turbos that I currently have. I would likely have to either upgrade the injectors or leave them as is and get port injection in the near future to use full E85. Now, I mentioned that I have upgraded turbos, but before we get into the turbos, I'd like to point out what is allowing the free-flowing air to the turb skis. These are Boosted 6 auto intakes. These intakes are open intakes, so it allows for a little more breathing room than the traditional OEM stock box. And it does a lot of cool whooshing and sucking sounds that we all love. These intakes use rather large boost inlets, which I believe are the largest on the market. There's a huge debate whether or not hot air intakes make more or less power, but I don't want to get into that, and you can determine that yourself. Now, moving past the inlets, it's really hard to see, but I have the Z1 VRX70 upgraded turbos. These are small frame turbos that allow a stock VR30 to reach upwards of 700 wheel horsepower without it being detrimental to the stock engine and transmission. And when I say high 700s, I mean, like, I think we've recorded over 790 on a couple cars tuned by Racebox. With these turbos on pump 93, you can make over 500 wheel horsepower and have a fat power band compared to stock turbos, which the turbos run out of steam. Over 5,500 RPMs, I believe it starts to drop off. And in my case, I'm pushing E60, and the last time I was on the dyno, I made over 650 horsepower with about 4 to 5 PSI left on the table. Look, an engine is a pump, and as important as it is for air to come into an engine, it's equally as important for air to come out. So, right out the turbo, I have Pride Auto full downpipes paired to a ZillaFullBoost 3-inch to 3.5-inch titanium wide pipe. This is my very own custom design that I will be selling on my website, ZillaFullBoost.com, in the near future, so keep an eye out for that. There is no titanium wide pipe other than Tomei's, and Tomei has a 2.75-inch wide pipe, which I believe is not large enough. And that wide pipe is fitted onto a custom Tomei exhaust. And I have to say that the sound is glorious. There is an annoying Nissan rasp around 2,800 RPMs, but I'll just figure out how to eliminate that soon. However, everywhere else, man, that thing just sounds like a Nissan 6-cylinder, which in my opinion sounds great with the right exhaust. Up top, my car resembles an R35, and it's crazy to say that, but it really does sound like that. Now, when you're making that much power, you want to have a cooling mod that will allow to make that power consistently. And that's why I have fitted a forced inductions interchiller to the Z. With this mod, I get the coldest charge temps possible. On an 80-degree day, I can get my temps down to 30 degrees. If the ambient temperature is in the 60s, I will likely see a single-digit charge air temperature, which is unheard of with any other cooling mod on the market. So if you're interested in getting a forced inductions interchiller, you can use my code ZillaFullBoost10 at checkout to get 10% off on their website. The link will be in the description. This is the current version of Ghost, but you can expect this car to be a lot faster and more powerful in the near future. But in the meantime, if you want to see what this car made on the dyno, make sure to click here and keep it locked in.